Welcome to A Drop of Silence, the groundbreaking podcast series that dives deep into the realms of controversy. Join us as we bring special guests who share their extraordinary experiences and offer unparalleled insight into history, today's news headlines, and the future. Get ready to embark on a thought-provoking journey where silence speaks volumes and the truth lies somewhere beneath the surface.
What time will it be when war is no more? When bullets are melted and the warships moor?
Have you ever met a person that you go to a conference or something and you meet this one person that you absolutely totally connect to? That was me and Donna Cavanagh when we went to the Erma Bombeck convention 20 years ago. She was there as a publisher. And the reason she started her publishing company was because of humorists and comedians who tried to get their work published by standard, traditional means. And the answer they were always getting is, oh, nobody wants to read your work in a book. They'd rather see it in person. And they're saying, but we did something different. And nobody would even pay attention to them, would even read the work. So Donna Cavanagh was pretty fed up about that. And she started the Outcast humor publishing company. And then she realized that there are other voices out there who also cannot get published. And so then she started Offshore Press. She started all of these different publishing companies so that people that have a lot to say but are a minority and the traditional publishers don't feel are important could get their work out there into the public. And she's very, very, very successful at it. So that I thought, we're talking about people being oppressed and people being silent and people not having a way to get out there with what they want to say. Donna Cavanagh is one of those people who fills that gap. And that's why I asked her to come on to the show. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to A Drop of Silence podcast series. I'm Pam Goldstein, your host, and with me today is somebody I have known for years. I met her at the Erma Bombeck Writers Conference, and that was like 12 years ago. I think.
It's a long time. Yeah, that was the first time because we were there twice together, I think. Right?
Yeah,
at least twice, I think. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, this is Donna Cavanagh. Donna is one of those people who believes in the future. And if she sees something wrong, that she goes ahead and she tries to fix it. And so what that makes her, she started as a humorist and author, but now what makes me so impressed with her is she's a publisher. She helps people get published. And it's people that fall through the cracks. And I think maybe we should explain what happened with the publishing business first. And that was, we had 10 major publishers, we're down to 4. And even though that doesn't sound like anything big, what it does, it limits the numbers of points of view that you're going to get on any one subject. So Donna has taken it to be a publisher. She's the founder of the online humor magazine, HumorOutcasts.com. And she's the partner publishing, she's a magazine, and she's the partner publishing company, HumorOutcasts Press, which now includes the labels Shorehouse Books and Corner Office Books. So if you have a book that's
kind of humorous, as a memoir, as a cookbook.
All genres.
You do all
Yeah.
sorts of things. Go to HOPress-shorehousebooks.com, and that'll take you to everything this amazing woman does. But the reason I asked Donna on the show today, because I'm very concerned about book banning. And Donna and I, you and I have talked about this at Erma a few times. And what is your take on book banning, and why should everybody be concerned about this?
Book banning just completely takes the learning out of humanity. I know that sounds to some people dramatic, but if we can't read different points of view or different historical viewpoints, and if we just listen to what somebody's telling us without reading ourselves, without experiencing it through books, be it fiction, be it nonfiction, memoir, whatever, then we lose the learning curve and we lose our humanity. We always need to learn. We have to understand the history behind books. We have to understand history in general, because if we do not listen and learn from history, we are destined to repeat it. And book banning is like the catalyst that's going to make us repeat. And we got to cut it out. And it's all genres. It's not just history or historical fiction. It's somebody banning a humor column, which is why I started Humor Outcasts, because there were people who offended somebody's religious or social views. And you can't ban. Just, if you don't want it, move on. Don't force other people to not learn because you don't want to learn anything. That's not your job. Your job, if you don't want to learn it, then move on. It's so simple.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I got dramatic. There you go.
Well, I mean, I'm amazed at the books that are being banned these days, like To Kill a
Honestly.
Mockingbird. I mean, you know, it's old, I get that, but that was a great book for somebody who had never learned anything or knew anything about racism in the South.
Well, they even wanted to ban, and I'm not sure if they were successful in it in some states, Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Yeah.
I mean, just even fiction books that depict that era, you just gotta understand what went on. And you can't sit there and then blame it on, that's not real history, or that's not our history, or it's offensive to our culture. You can't do that. The only way we're going to learn and not repeat is to read. And it's not through TV. It's not through news. It's through literature and memoirs and history. That's the only way that humanity is going to grow. And they're going to understand. We talked about this before. Some states are banning The Diary of Anne Frank. What could you possibly find in that book that can be offensive?
Yeah.
That poor little girl, that young woman, I guess, but just putting everything out there before her death. And we should just sit there and be totally dumbfounded and disgusted by humanity. And instead, people want to ban it because why?
They want
do they not think it existed? Do they not believe in the Holocaust? I don't care. If you don't believe in it, then go away. But let that book alone. And there is nothing more truthful than that book coming from that young woman. And I just don't get it. It's like I go through this all the time. What is your motive for wanting to ban books? And then they bring up, maybe it's, not that book, but, they don't want books because they have a sexual nature to it. Oh, come on. What library are you going to? I mean, I'm sure it's not like porn or anything. It's a romance that, where people, and yet they'll read romance novels, right? So where is their line? What is their line? And I think when it comes to, it's that line of prejudice that says you believe my way or we don't allow anybody else to believe at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I just think it's one of the most horrific things. And I thought we were beyond it. I really thought we were
I
beyond
did
it.
too. After Crystal knocked and all of the other book bannings and the book burnings and everything, I thought we were. The one that really surprised me though was Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Yeah.
Where I live is in Amherstburg, and we were the end of the Underground Railroad.
Mhm.
And not even 100 miles from us, they brought Uncle Tom's Cabin to Dresden, Ontario. And I mean, it was remarkable in itself was that it was a white woman who saw the horrors and the terror and the just the disgusting humanity that happened to slaves, and she desperately wanted to write about it. So not only is she fighting the prejudice of a white person writing about slavery, she's a white person who's a woman in the 1800s when women had no say about anything.
Right.
So even the history of how that book got written is spectacular.
And published. That
Yes.
somebody, right? And published.
I
So
know.
somebody somewhere, there had to be some kind of enlightenment somewhere. Right. I'm in southeast Pennsylvania. I'm right by Valley Forge, and not a stone's, a little bit from Gettysburg, about an hour and a half outside Gettysburg. So the Underground Railroad stuff always ran through this area too.
Yeah.
So it was always nobody around here could have found that offensive. Now, that was in current history. I'm not sure where we are now, to be honest with you. I don't know what forces have invaded to make it an offensive book. But it's really important that we keep these books alive. It's really important.
So now, I mean, you have a stronger leg to stand on than the rest of us because you are a publisher and you can speak out and you can publish books that counter what's happening. But somebody like a mother who really wants her kid to read The Diary of Anne Frank and it's not in her child's school, what can somebody like that or do about it? And would it make any difference if one single parent stood up and said, no, this is unacceptable?
I think it's hard on the single parents because honestly, they're afraid. Look what they're afraid of. They're afraid of this ultra-right movement. They're afraid of their kids getting harmed in school. There's so many things that young parents are afraid of now. The people who are not banning the books, I think, are Amazon. You can go get that book on Amazon, right? Your libraries are fighting to keep those books in, and they all have signs. Book banning is not allowed. They are fighting librarians to keep these books. And so some of the smaller bookstores are having a problem. Maybe they're also afraid of the backlash that comes from it. Now, I don't know in my area if anybody's having a problem with it, to be honest. But I mean, I have heard in the Midwest that some of the smaller bookstores were having problems with people, in the down south. So I just think, you got to go, if you want your kid to read it and your library refuses to cover it, then somebody somewhere in the United States has to have that book. Maybe there can be like a network, book network, right? You give me this one, I'll send you that one. And I haven't heard anything about Amazon banning any books. I don't think that's in their scope at all. Yeah. So I don't want to, just dump praise on Amazon, but I think that like something like that, when you're backed by that much money, that you can sort of say, go away, we're not banning this. Too bad, but they have to get the book too. Like what happens if their suppliers say we don't have any more, or we're not going into that? But I don't know if I've heard that. I think it's been, mainly school districts with that real, like I said, right wing mentality. And so but I'm hopeful. I really believe we're going to overcome all this. We're going to get back on the other side, and we're going to get to a place where this that we get to build again, and this kind of stuff doesn't happen, and we're going to do it. I truly believe it.
Yeah. I always remember this one person that I met. He was a Holocaust survivor, and he said the biggest clue that something horrifying was going to happen, he said, and everybody missed it. He said was the Kristallnacht, the night of Kristallnacht, where they burned all of the Jewish bookstores, and then they took all the books, Jewish books, out of the libraries and burned them. He said that was the beginning of the horror that was about to start in the
Right.
Holocaust. And I keep thinking about that, and I'm going, so what are we missing? Is that really what's happening? Is this book banning the beginning of something that we should all be standing up against?
I think we always have to stand up against it. But I think it's these book banners, these people, as much press as they get, and as much as the media wants to bring them out to light, they are still the minority of the minority. And they're bullies. And they count on people not wanting to get involved because they're bullies. And I don't think there's enough of them for that. And that's why I'm optimistic. I think you're going to always go through a bumpy ride. But that's why I say, too, you always have to bring history up. There's somebody on Twitter, X, whatever it's called now, but and I wish I knew who it was. I just always repost it. So I'm sorry, I don't know who it is. But they always show Holocaust pictures of people who then underneath it when they died in the Holocaust. And I always retweet it. And the reason I retweet it is because if you forget, it happens again.
Yeah.
And we see how women are now being treated by this right wing as well. Well, they want women to go back to the 1700s and 1800s. And that's not going to happen because we're just not going to let that happen. Right. And so it's the same that you want your children and your grandchildren to learn to be better human beings. And the key that we always have to teach, which is such a hard key, and I don't know where down the road this becomes, is that there is only one race, the human race. Skin color, cultural, whatever, it's just part of the human condition. There is only one race on this planet, and we have to learn that that's it. And I'm hoping that as we become more enlightened, and I think we will be, that becomes more the common, not the extraordinary, right? And I think it's a lesson we have to teach, and over and over and over, you know?
Yeah. I was trying to think back. I mean, when Gloria Steinem and Betty Friedan and them, like, they really knocked the world off its little keister there when they were talking about women's rights. But I don't ever remember anybody trying to ban them or stop them from what they were writing.
I think they thought, no, they didn't, because it was don't forget, that was a time. That's why I have an optimistic view of what's going to happen. Because that was a time where everything was a revolution, right? Everything, civil rights was happening, women's rights were happening, peace marches. It was a little bit before my time, but I read it all. Okay. And,
but I was right in there.
It's not that much different, but I went to an all-girls prep Catholic school. Our nuns, and now you see how it's gone back, but our nuns wore buttons, trusting God, for she will provide. Okay.
Cool.
Okay. Now I feel like, it's taken a step back, because of this odd conservatism, but I don't think that's the majority of people. I think wherever you fall politically, you want your daughters to have equal rights. You want your daughters to be safe. You want your daughters to accomplish. You don't want your daughters to go back to being chattel for some guy, right? So I'm optimistic. I don't want to say it like flippantly. I think we have work to do. I don't think we were as good, well, the United States anyway. I don't think we were as good as we thought we were. This whole thing showed us the cracks, the fissures, the faults we had. And now we have to work to be better than we were. I think we were on the right path, and we just got head-on collision into crap, as for the lack of a better word.
We got Trumpicized.
Yes. And they normalized it as well,
Yeah.
which is a dangerous thing. But like I said, I truly believe, as I look around and I talk to people, that everybody is going to be okay. And we just have a bumpy road to get there. But I think we're all going to be okay. And then we're going to start building again. And this stuff with book banning, and this stuff with not wanting to learn history, and all this stuff is people are going to say, what were we thinking? And the people who don't want to get out of that cult mentality, I have no pity for them, because you have had chance after chance after chance to come to the realization that, okay, we are human beings. Everybody should be on an equal playing field. And if you can't get that, if you're going to live in fear and anger and whatever else drives your mentality, then I have lost pity. And I find that to be the most disheartening thing to me as a person, is that my sense of pity for some people is completely shot.
Yeah, it's true. My girlfriend and I were just talking about that a few hours ago, how the pity is like you don't have that compassion anymore for people that are so stupid and so
It's just so many chances you can hit them on the side of the head and say, "Come on!" As my old Italian grandmother would do. Boom!
Snap out of it. It's terrible.
But apparently that doesn't work.
I know, like that's why I'm concerned, is because nothing seems to work. Nothing gets through to them.
But I'm just going to tell you, they're still the minority. The media has to, I'm saying this as a former print journalist, the media needs all this horse and pony show drama for ratings, for readership, whatever. But when you look at it, that following is peeling off. That following is peeling off. And I'm going to say this, that the people who peel off and were just regular conservatives, they need to form a new party for themselves, so that, because the world is compromised. You can't have it all one way, right? As human beings, you have to be able to come together and talk about policy and compromise on a lot of different things. Nothing's going to be perfect, but when you have a cohesive unit, that you're together and your goal is to make the world a better place, that's the most important thing. So I just, the stupid will stay stupid. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't fix stupid, right?
That's true. So, but I have so much respect for you, because you've always gone with humor, which I totally agree with. I think if you can't laugh at something, then we're in big trouble.
Yes.
And but then to form this publishing company, how did that come about? Because I think that's an incredible story in itself.
Well, I had Humor Outcasts for about 2 years, and I started that because there were about 4 or 5 writers. We used to write on this site called Associated Content years ago. And this conservative group came in and was flagging posts left and right, and they weren't even offensive. They just didn't like the humor of it. So people were losing their posts, were coming down. So I had said to my husband, who's a computer engineer, I want a site where that people can write, that minimum censorship that they could write. And you have to have some, only because I want third-party ads, so it can't be over the top. so we put together, and we were all outcasts, so we became Humor Outcasts. And so that grew from this little core of writers to over 100 writers. Now they don't write all at one time, and some come, some go, but they ranged from newbies to Emmy award winning sitcom writers and stand-up comedians, that kind of thing. And then people started to say, I can't get my books, I have this humor book, I can't even get it in the door. And they said, because I'm not a well-known comic, I'm not a well-known sitcom star, there is nothing for me. Nobody wants to take a chance. So we started with HO Press saying, okay, this is what we'll do. We will figure out, we'll do it. So we did it through CreateSpace, Amazon, because and it still offers, I think, the best for writers, even though it's a pain in the neck a lot of times, and it's not perfect by any means. But then, and we did it in paperback and Kindle, and that's all we do. We don't do audiobooks or anything like that. At the beginning, I had more time and I would edit, but I don't even have time for that. So now, as more and more genres started to come, we had a few mystery series. We have historical fiction, all these different books and authors started to come. We said, okay, well, some of these books can't go under HO Press label because they're not humor. So being the beach fiend that I am, I said, how about Shorehouse books? So that's how we did that label. And then I started to get, I have all these different people, doctors, lawyers. I have an Israeli activist, Mike Harris, who was a pediatrician for years and years. So we said they need another label to talk about. I have Kathy Sikorsky, who is an elder care attorney and caregiver. So for her, so we discovered, developed corner office books for professionals. And so really what they have to do, they have to give me an edited manuscript, which means you have to find an editor. I have editors. I have great editors, but that's your arrangement with them. When you give me your book, I want it edited because I do not have the time between formatting and trying to get the word out to edit your manuscript. And so we do the same thing. We do either partner publishing, which is we do even some marketing. We do marketing for you, and then you pay an upfront fee, not a lot, because I don't want anybody to have to get a mortgage out. So it's not vanity press, but it's enough for me to pay my award-winning, and they are cover designers. If the price goes down if they have their own cover designer, if they do with their own covers. So everything is worked out per author. We see what they need. If for authors who they don't want to do anything, they just want me to do social media. I don't do personal events anymore because after COVID, it became sort of too hard to do. And now my life is busier with, family stuff. But I do social media, and I excerpt on HO, any books, any format, any genre on my site, because my site gets a ton of reads a day. So I try and I set them up with my podcaster, my HO podcaster, Billy Dees, who does a great job. And so I do marketing, and if they want a full-fledged program, then it's still partner publishing. I get 50% of your royalties. If you want to keep all your royalties, then I don't do really the marketing. I just set it up, make sure it's there, get it right, and get you going. And it's on your account, so you can check your sales. You can do that. So I do both ways. And you'd be surprised. I thought everybody would jump at the chance to get the 100% of the royalties, but a lot of times they don't. They don't want to promote at all. And I say, even if you went the traditional book route now, you still have to self-promote. No traditional publisher is going to do your marketing. You still have to market, and with that, you're only getting 10% royalties, unless you're a big name. So people just have to learn. Okay, I got to get over the self-promotion thing.
Yeah.
So, but that's how it works. And, I pick and choose more now because I'm much more busy in other things with caregiving and everything. So, if people have a good project and they want me to look at it, I'm happy to look at it. Yeah.
Okay. So it's still mostly humor. You have one section that does humor.
I have one section that does humor, and then I have another that does all the other different genres, and then the professional, which is corner office
Okay.
books, which
So
which
in
is
that
Go ahead.
other genre, so do you do thrillers and
Yes.
suspense and mysteries and all of those things?
Shorehouse Books has an author, Deb Fazell, who has written 5 series of books, suspense thrillers. We also have another author. His pen name is Will 3, who also did a series, Hartley God and Hartley Law. He's a lawyer outside of Pittsburgh, and it's sort of wrapped into the Pittsburgh, which was a great story as well. And we have in the corner office, like I said, we have elder care attorney Kathy Sikorsky, who teaches you in her books, because she speaks all over the country, how to prepare for, you guys in Canada don't have to worry about it too much, I don't think, but long-term care and things like that.
Oh no, yeah.
And then like I said, political activists, Daniela Gitlin, who we know from Erma, a psychiatrist. She wrote a wonderful memoir, Practice, This Psychiatrist's Life. And no, she couldn't, and I can't believe this book is written so well. Now she has a traditional publisher for her second book. And that's the other thing. I hope if you go your first book through me, and if another publisher comes along, I am thrilled to pieces for you. If I helped you get it in front of them, I am thrilled to pieces. If they want to pick up because it's really still independently published, if they want to pick that up and take it under their wing, I am thrilled for you. So I don't feel a competition with these people. But her book, it was so well written, and I just thought it was just a good book, and a memoir from a therapist's point of view. So it was, so there's so many different, my children's book, that was the first one I did. The first really children's book
to the Rescue.
Ramo to the Rescue, which is based on a real life lifeguard at the Jersey Shore. So we doing more of those. And so there's so many talented authors and writers out there who cannot get their foot in the door. Yeah. And for somebody to tell them, well, you need an agent, you need this, you'll never get it published because you don't have a name, blah, 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 blah. Well, here, let's get you published. And then you have that cred. And the stigma for independent publishing is now, I think, almost gone. The people who want to keep it there are the traditional publishers.
Yes.
And but for the most part, even independent bookstores have started to come on, offering corners, independent author corner or local authors. There are still some independent bookstores who don't want to because they can't return books like they can. My books are distributed through Ingram, but Amazon still has that thing where you can't return books. Bookstores can't return books. So that's a no with them. But we work out a lot of deals, how to sell on consignment, personal appearances that they do. People just have to be willing to work books. It's very difficult to sell books in today's world.
So look at you, Miss Donna Cavanagh. When I first met you, you had just started the Humor Outcasts and all of that. And now you've become the superwoman.
I don't think so.
Of preventing people from not being heard because of opinions. You're a vigilante against banning books, and look at you. I feel you're the superwoman of publishing.
No, you know what? My dad was a union leader, so I am my dad's daughter. I mean, even in college, I was student government, and I was always causing trouble, So I am my dad's daughter. I'll say it that way.
That's so sweet. Well, thank you so much, Donna, for coming on. This has been so much fun.
Pleasure.
It's always such a pleasure to talk to you. Yeah. And you're always so brilliant, You really are. Please. You're not one of the stupid people that we loathe.
One day Karma's coming to get me for that. You'll see.
Okay, thanks a lot, Donna.
You're
Take
welcome.
care.
Thanks, Pam.
And
Bye.
come on again. Come
I
on
will.
again.
I will.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
What time will it be when war is no more? When bullets are melted and the warships moor.
This podcast is brought to you by Unbreakable Bindings Publishing Company. Executive produced by Lori Baldassi, produced by Ryan Richardson, hosted by Pam Goldstein.